7 days ago, Ferrari looked fast. Today, they look dangerous. Because with only days left before the Australian Grand Prix, leaked details about the SF-26 upgrades have sent a shockwave through the paddock. Not a cosmetic tweak, not a minor adjustment, a targeted performance package built around Hamilton's feedback and engineered to exploit Albert Park's biggest weaknesses. A refined blown exhaust system feeding a more aggressive diffuser. A reactive turbo configuration designed to reduce lag out of slow corners. Hybrid maps recalibrated to prevent early clipping in race stints. And here is the number that has teams worried. Early internal estimates suggest gains worth up to 0.2 per lap in traction-sensitive sectors. At the front of Formula One, 0.2 is the difference between second and control. And while the FIA tightens monitoring around active aero systems, Ferrari has chosen precision over provocation. No dramatic showpiece, just a smarter, more controlled SF-26. Hamilton is publicly calm, measured, but inside Maranello, confidence is building. Because if this package performs in Melbourne the way simulations suggest, the championship narrative could shift before race one even settles. Subscribe now, because what Ferrari is about to reveal in Australia might redefine the balance of power from the very first lights out. What makes this even more explosive is the context. We are not mid-season. We are not 10 races into a development war. We are days away from the first Grand Prix of the year. Australia, Albert Park, a circuit that punishes rear instability, overheated tires, and poor traction more brutally than most fans realize. And Ferrari has aimed this upgrade package directly at those weaknesses. The blown exhaust concept, already introduced earlier, has been refined to work more efficiently with the extended diffuser. Hot gases are now guided more precisely into the expansion zone, increasing rear load exactly when the driver returns to throttle. That matters in Melbourne, because turns like 3 and 13 are traction tests. Get the rear wrong, you lose tenths instantly. Get right, and the lap flows. But Ferrari did not stop there. The 067/6 power unit arrives with a fresh race specification, including a more reactive turbine designed to reduce lag in lower gears. That translates into sharper response out of slow corners, less hesitation, more immediate torque delivery. And when you combine that with hybrid maps recalibrated to avoid early clipping during race stints, something interesting happens. The SF-26 becomes more predictable over distance. Not just fast, stable. And that word is crucial, because Hamilton's influence on this project was not about creating a nervous qualifying monster. It was about expanding the operating window. He pushed for stability under braking, for smoother transitions between mechanical braking and energy regeneration, for a rear axle that does not snap when hybrid recovery begins. In Bahrain testing, early data suggested a clear pattern. Leclerc extracted peak performance over one lap. Hamilton focused on long-run consistency. Together, that feedback widened the usable setup range of the car. And that may be the most important development of all. Previous Ferraris often lived on a knife edge. Brilliant when everything aligned, unforgiving when it did not. The SF-26 appears more flexible, more adaptable to different styles, more resilient to small setup deviations. But here is where the tension builds. The operating window may be wider, yet the thermal sensitivity in hot conditions remains delicate. If rear ride height or brake balance drifts too far, the rear tires can overheat quickly. Albert Park's stop and go layout amplifies that risk. So Ferrari is walking a fine line. Aggressive rear downforce generated by the blown exhaust and diffuser, balanced by careful thermal management, supported by hybrid deployment that must remain inside tighter FIA oversight on active aero and energy systems. And that is why teams are watching closely. Because if Ferrari has truly solved the balance between traction, stability, and energy consistency, then Melbourne becomes more than a race. It becomes validation. Validation that Hamilton's arrival has not just added experience. It has reshaped the technical direction of the car. And if that reshaping translates into visible race pace in Australia, the entire dynamic at the front of the grid could shift before the championship even settles into rhythm. But here is where the situation becomes even more intense. Because performance upgrades are one thing, expectation is another. And right now, Ferrari is carrying both. When a team arrives at the first race of the season with visible technical evolution, the spotlight immediately intensifies. Every practice session becomes analysis. Every speed trap figure becomes a headline. Every onboard clip is dissected frame by frame. And with Hamilton now at the center of the project, the scrutiny doubles. Not just from rival teams, from the FIA as well. The blown exhaust system working in harmony with the diffuser is powerful, yes. But it also operates in a regulatory environment that is far less forgiving than before. Active aero interaction, hybrid deployment logic, energy release timing. All of it is monitored more aggressively this season. That means Ferrari cannot simply unleash maximum aggression. They must deliver performance that looks compliant, performance that feels controlled. And that is where the engineering challenge becomes psychological. Because if the SF-26 looks too strong in traction zones, questions will surface. If the flip wing behavior appears too efficient in drag reduction, attention increases. So Ferrari's approach for Australia seems calculated. Refine what already worked. Avoid dramatic experimentation. Bring a fresh engine specification optimized for heat. Calibrate energy maps specifically for race rhythm rather than headline speed. And let the performance speak gradually. Now imagine the opening laps in Melbourne. Heavy fuel, cold tires, tight braking into turn 1. If Hamilton feels that stable rear platform under braking, if he senses confidence in traction through the slow corners, his driving style changes immediately. He becomes patient, measured, strategic, and that is when he is most dangerous. Because Hamilton at his best does not force the car. He manages it, extends stints, controls energy usage, positions himself for decisive moves rather than desperate ones. And if the SF-26 now supports that methodology, Ferrari has unlocked something they have lacked in recent seasons: sustained control. But here is the deeper layer. If Ferrari performs strongly in Melbourne without revealing any radical new component, the message becomes clear. This car was already ready. The evolution was not about saving a weakness. It was about maximizing a strength. And if that strength holds under the real pressure of race conditions, with FIA monitoring active aero modes and hybrid deployment closely, then the psychological shift could be immediate. Red Bull would not just be fighting a faster Ferrari. They would be fighting a more stable one. Mercedes would not just be chasing lap time. They would be chasing efficiency. And once the development race accelerates, the team that begins with the most balanced foundation usually builds momentum fastest. That is why Australia matters more than usual. Is not just about who stands on the podium. It is about who demonstrates control, who shows that their winter work translated cleanly from simulation to circuit, who proves that their operating window is wide enough to survive real-world pressure. If the SF-26 delivers that confirmation in Race 1, then this is no longer a hopeful Ferrari project. It becomes a credible title platform. And if that happens, with Hamilton shaping its direction and Leclerc still extracting peak pace, the entire competitive dynamic of a season could shift before the championship truly begins. Because sometimes the most important upgrade is not the visible part bolted onto the car. It is the philosophy behind how the car behaves when the pressure is highest. And this is where everything converges. Because Australia will not just reveal speed, it will reveal hierarchy. The first race of a season does something unique. It exposes who understood the regulations best, who interpreted the gray areas correctly, who built a car that works in the real world, not just in simulation. And Ferrari is walking into that moment with something very different from recent years. Belief, not hype, belief. The SF-26 is not being described internally as explosive. It is being described as coherent. That word matters. Coherent means the aerodynamic concept aligns with the engine philosophy. It means the hybrid deployment matches the chassis balance. It means the suspension setup range allows adaptation without panic. And when coherence exists, development becomes exponential. Because upgrades no longer fight the base car. They enhance it. Now imagine the broader impact. If Hamilton delivers a strong, controlled performance in Melbourne, the narrative shifts instantly. Not just because he is Lewis Hamilton, but because it would confirm that his influence is technical, not symbolic. He has reportedly reshaped how Ferrari explores setup windows, how they test hybrid maps, how they evaluate braking stability. That kind of methodological change is not visible in one part. It shows up in consistency. And consistency in the first race sends a powerful message to Red Bull, to Mercedes, to the FIA. Because if Ferrari can combine peak qualifying performance from Leclerc with race management precision from Hamilton, the internal balance becomes a strength instead of a tension point. Two different driving styles. One adaptable platform,